Hi, friends. So today we're going to continue to talk about the Great Barrier Reef, and we're going to talk about the Great Barrier Reef's, the creatures that are at the Great Barrier Reef. Okay. So I want to show you this picture here of the Great Barrier Reef from space. Now, do you see how big this is? This is just a snapshot of it. I mean, it's ginormous. The fact that you can see it from space is even more cool. But here's the thing about the Great Barrier Reef. The Great Barrier Reef is alive. It is made up of organisms that grow a little bit at a time to create this massive structure where other things then attach and live on. Okay, it's pretty amazing. Um, so there's a lot of criteria on how coral grows. Okay, the water has to be shallow. It must be sunny. There must be very few nutrients in the vicinity. Um, so they have a particular way of thriving. It has to do with symbiosis. So that means that it's an interdependence or a mutually beneficial uh, life together. Okay. So um, coral has a symbiotic relationship with tiny plant like organisms called zooxanthellae. Say that one three times fast. So they live in the cells of the polyp where they have access to sunlight. And they use the sunlight to perform photosynthesis, which we know is producing food, which they share with the coral. So the the zooxanthellae get sunlight and protection, and the coral polyps get food. Um, So anyway, they live in colonies, and while the individual in a colony is tiny, the colony can grow really, really big and weigh many tons. So here's a couple different colonies. This is branching black coral. This one is, wow, that's awesome. A table coral. That is a sea fan. And I think this one is the brain one. Brain and lettuce coral. See how it kind of looks like a brain and that kind of looks like lettuce? Look at this. So, remember we talked about how fish and sea life near us is kind of um, dark. You know, the colors are very muted because of the nature of the water and the foliage and things that are near us. So, the coral reef is bright and beautiful, and that's why the fish and critters you see there are bright and beautiful too for the camouflage. So the formation of a coral reef is really, really slow. Okay. Um, Coral attaches itself to hard surfaces, and then during 1,000 years, it grows and expands to form reefs along the shoreline. Okay. It expands slowly, slowly, slowly over the course of time. Sea levels rise and the land on the reef actually may sink. As the land sinks, a lagoon takes shape. This lagoon separates the land from the reef, which is now called a barrier reef. There's another picture. So it takes millions of years for this reef to form. And it's all different kinds of reefs that can form. It depends on the kind of land, it depends on the water, It depends on the temperature, but there are different kinds of animals that actually live there. Some of them are seabirds, sponges, jellyfish, starfish, shrimps, ray, snails, crabs, lobsters, sea turtles, and sea snakes. Um, Although the coral reef represents less than 1% of the ocean floor, they're home to almost 1/4 of all marine animals. Can you imagine that? Reefs may be habitats for millions of species that we haven't even identified yet.
What?
So here's a seahorse, which seahorses are really cool. They like to live in the coral reefs. Here's a lionfish. Isn't that pretty? And this is a cuttlefish. They're pretty neat. So they protect the shorelines from extreme wave action. They also protect coastal wetlands to prevent erosion. But coral reefs are dying out because of humans, because we ruin everything. So that's a big problem, especially since it takes thousands upon millions of years to create these coral reefs. Look at this starfish. Wow. This guy. A nudibranch. A mollusk. Sheds its shell. Pretty cool. Look at this fish. So, in order to conserve this and to promote new growth, they create reef balls, which are hollow spheres made of organic concrete, and it's designed to attract coral and other marine organisms. So humans have put over 50,000 reef balls around the world, but in order for it to become the next barrier reef, it's going to take millions of years. So we need to start acting now to save what's still there. So let's look at some more critters that live there. So jellyfish, corals, and anemones. They all are invertebrates. These creatures have very soft sac-shaped bodies, which contain no heart, bones, or brain. They live in water. They use tiny muscles to move around and have mouths that face downward, while others stay stuck to the ocean floor and have mouths facing up. They are predators who trap prey using tentacles covered with toxic stingers. They've been around for over 6 million years, and they are one of the oldest types of animals. So let's talk about corals first, because coral is what the Great Barrier Reef is made out of. And it's not letting me click it. There we go. So, corals are among the most important animals in the ocean. The living part of the coral is made up of tiny creatures called polyps, which are relatives of sea anemones. Polyps often live together in large colonies, snatching food from the water with their tentacles. Coral polyps protect themselves by building hard cases or tubes out of minerals. Over millions of years, these cases form giant coral reefs, which provide homes to enormous numbers of other sea creatures. The world's largest coral reef is the Great Barrier Reef off the coast of Australia. It's 1,600 miles long and can be seen from space. So here's an example. Here's the coral body, and then they give you a nice little zoom in to show you the polyps. So these little guys break off and attach to hard things like the organic concrete they were talking about, or a coastal shelf, and they start growing there, and over the course of millions of years, they turn into these giant reefs. Okay? So sea anemones, pretty cool too. They sit on the seabed, catching prey with their venomous tentacles. These creatures are often found in shallow waters or tidal pools, while as many as 50% live in the depths of the ocean. Sea anemones look delicate, but they are efficient predators. Most of these animals do not move around much or swim. They stay anchored by a fleshy foot to rocks or dig their soft bodies into sand on the seafloor. The giant green anemone is one of the largest anemones in the world, growing more than 3 feet across. So here's its stinging tentacles. Okay. Sea anemones are armed with stinging tentacles that snatch animals from the water. Each tentacle is lined with tiny barbs that shoot out to inject venom. Tentacles kill small prey and can give humans a painful sting. They have a symbiotic relationship with clownfish. Clownfish live in sea anemones, and the when they catch their food and they leave little, leave organic waste, sea anemones eat that. They have this little foot sucker that sucks to the rock. There's the stomach. It's pretty cool. Pretty neat. Let's look at jellyfish. Jellyfish are marine invertebrates with no brains, no bones, no heart, and no eyes. They have soft, transparent bodies and tentacles armed with thousands or millions of microscopic stinging cells. These are used by the jellyfish to stun and draw in their prey. Jellyfish tend to be weak swimmers and move mainly by drifting with the current. Most jellyfish are harmless to humans, but a few species can deliver a fatal sting. Jellyfish belong to the same group of animals as sea anemones and corals. The sea wasp jellyfish from Australia and Southeast Asia is the world's most venomous jellyfish. Its sting can kill a human in seconds. This is a moon jellyfish. Isn't that neat? You go down to the aquarium in Baltimore, they have a tube full of jellyfish, and it's just so cool to watch them swim. Right? Let's look at more animals of the Great Barrier Reef. We talked about coral. Here's another picture of coral. Sea sponges. Although they're not as visible as other animals, the 5,000 or so species of sponges along the Great Barrier Reef perform essential ecological functions that pave the way for new generations and maintaining the reef's overall health. In general, sponges are near the bottom of the food chain, providing nutrients for more complex animals. Meanwhile, there are some sponge species that help recycle calcium carbonate from dying corals. The freed calcium carbonate in turn ends up being incorporated into the bodies of mollusks and diatoms. Isn't that neat? There's sea sponge. Pretty cool. Starfish and sea cucumbers. Look at this guy. It's like blur, blur. Great Barrier Reef's 600 or so species of echinoderms. The order that includes starfish, sea stars, and sea cucumbers are mostly good citizens, constituting an essential link in the food chain and helping maintain the reef's overall ecology. The exception is the crown of thorn starfish, which we talked about yesterday, which feeds on the soft tissues of corals and can cause drastic declines in coral populations if left unchecked. The only reliable remedy is maintaining populations of the crown of thorns natural predators, including the giant Triton snail and the starry pufferfish. Check out this. It's like a knot. Isn't that gross? Mollusks. Mollusks are a widely divergent order of animals, including species clams, oysters, and cuttlefish. Remember that picture of a cuttlefish we just looked at? It kind of looked like a squid, but it's actually a mollusk. Pretty cool. Marine biologists believe there are at least 5,000 and possibly as many as 10,000 species of mollusks inhabiting the Great Barrier Reef. The most visible being the giant clam, which can weigh up to 500 pounds. This ecosystem is also notable for zigzag oysters, octopuses, squid, cowries, the shells of which were once used as money by Australia's indigenous tribes, bivalves, and sea slugs. Cool. Fish. There's our clownfish in the sea anemone. No, we didn't. Here, check out this guy. Isn't that pretty? There are more than 1,500 species of fish inhabiting the Great Barrier Reef, ranging from tiny gobies and larger bony fishes such as tuskfish and potato cods, up to massive cartilaginous fish such as manta rays, tiger sharks, and whale sharks. Damselfish, wrasses, and tuskfish are among the most abundant fish on the reef. There are also blennies, I think they're just making up words now. Blennies, butterfly fish, triggerfish, cowfish, pufferfish, angelfish, anemone fish, coral trout, seahorses, sea perch, sole, scorpionfish, hawkfish, and surgeonfish. That's a mouthful. Sea turtles. Look at this guy's face. Look how cute he is. 7 species of sea turtles frequent the Great Barrier Reef: the green turtle, loggerhead turtle, hawksbill turtle, flatback turtle, Pacific ridley turtle, and leatherback turtle. Green loggerhead and hawksbill turtles nest on the coral cays, while flatback turtles prefer continental islands, and the green and leatherback turtles reside on mainland Australia, only occasionally foraging as far out as the Great Barrier Reef. All these turtles, like many animals of the reef, are currently classified as either vulnerable or endangered. Sea snakes. Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the ocean. Look at this guy. About 30 million years ago, a population of terrestrial Australian snakes ventured toward the sea. Today, about 15 sea snakes are endemic to the Great Barrier Reef, including the large olive sea snake and the banded sea krait. Like all reptiles, sea snakes are equipped with lungs, but they can absorb a small amount of oxygen from water and have specialized glands that excrete excess salt. Isn't that cool? All sea snake species are venomous, but are much less of a threat to humans than terrestrial species such as cobras, eastern corals, or copperheads. So basically, their bite's going to hurt, but it's not going to kill you. Birds. And now I know you're thinking, Miss Laura, it's the ocean. Birds don't live in the ocean. But they live alongside it. Because remember I said the coral reef is good eating. Wherever there are fish and mollusks, there will be pelagic birds, which nest on nearby islands or the Australian coastline and venture out to the Great Barrier Reef for frequent meals. On Heron Island alone, you can find birds as diverse as the bare-shouldered dove, black-faced cuckoo shrike, Capricorn silvereye, buff-banded rail, sacred kingfisher, silver gull, eastern reef egret, and white-bellied sea eagle, all of which rely on nearby reef for their nutrition. Dolphins and whales. The relatively warm waters of the Great Barrier Reef make it a favorite destination of about 30 species of dolphins and whales. Some of these marine mammals ply the waters virtually year-round. Others swim to the region to give birth and raise young, while others simply pass through during their annual migrations. The most spectacular and entertaining creature of the Great Barrier Reef is the humpbacked whale. Luckily, visitors can catch glimpses of the 5-ton dwarf minke whale and the bottlenose dolphin, which like to travel in groups. Dugongs. Look at this guy. He looks kind of like a manatee. He's cute, squishy. These large, vaguely comical-looking animals are strictly herbivores, feeding on the numerous aquatic plants of the Great Barrier Reef. Sometimes reputed to be the source of the mermaid myth, dugongs are often thought to be closely related to dolphins and whales. While they share a last common ancestor with modern elephants, dugongs are cousins to the manatee. Their natural predator are sharks and also saltwater crocodiles that venture into the region only occasionally, but often with bloody consequences. Today, upwards of 50,000 dugongs are believed to be in the vicinity of Australia, an encouraging upturn in numbers for this still endangered creature. Check him out. He's neat. Kind of want to give him a hug. Jellyfish. We just talked about jellyfish. All right. Let's see some more. Ooh, look at this. That coral. It's a clam. Isn't that neat? It's not the kind of clams we find here. Another shot of a turtle. In theory. There's that clownfish and sea anemone. Coral. And your clam. Ooh, look at that jelly. I don't know what that is, but that's really neat. It's a porpoise. And a humpback. And a really weird looking fish. Oops. That's a whale shark. Bottlenose dolphin. Oh, that's a wrasse. Isn't that cool? All right. So, seahorses. Seahorses propel themselves by using a small fin on the back that flutters up to 35 times per second. Even smaller pectoral fins located near the back of the head are used for steering. Isn't that neat? So here's some fun facts about a seahorse. I just think seahorses are neat. We don't talk about them very much. So there's about 40 known species of seahorses. They prefer to swim in pairs with their tails linked together. They swim upright and avoid predators by mimicking the color of underwater plants. Except for crabs, few marine predators eat the seahorse because it's too bony. Because of their body shape, seahorses are rather inept swimmers. Can easily die of exhaustion when caught in storm-roiled seas. That's really sad. They anchor themselves with their tails to seagrasses and coral. They use their elongated snouts to suck plankton and other small crustaceans that drift by. They can suck food from as far as 3 centimeters away. The seahorse the seahorse feeds constantly on plankton and tiny fish. It moves each of its eyes independently so it can follow an activity of a passing sea life without giving its presence away. They have no teeth and no stomach. Food passes through their digestive system so quickly they must eat almost constantly to stay alive. They consume 3,000 or more brine shrimp per day. That's a sea monkey. Seahorses are magnanimous. They mate for life. Rarer still, they are among the only animal species on Earth in which the male bears the unborn young. Male pregnancy frees the female to make more eggs straight away and to reproduce quicker. Seahorses engage in an 8-hour courtship dance, which includes spinning around, swimming side by side, and changing colors. When mating, the female seahorse releases up to 50 eggs in a pouch on the male's abdomen. The male seahorse carries the eggs in his pouch until they hatch, then releases fully formed miniature seahorses into the water. As little as 5 or as many as 1,500 young children can be born. Okay, that's seriously cool. Let's look at some pretty seahorses. I can make these bigger. So, look at this guy. That's a pygmy horse. It's a pygmy seahorse. That's cute. The aquarium in Baltimore used to have a seahorse exhibit. I think it was on loan. See if we can find a video. There's some pretty cool. Look at this. This is neat. Check this out. In theory, check it out. Gosh, this is slow. Look. Shooting all the little babies out. Isn't that cool? How many babies it's having? Let's watch that again. So the males give birth. They can have up to 2,000 babies, but fewer than 5 in 1,000 survive till adulthood. So they have all those babies, and maybe 10 of them will survive. Pretty amazing. All right, my friend. That is just some information about the creatures of the Great Barrier Reef. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll talk to you later. Miss you.